18.5 points per game, but shooting 48% from beyond the three-point line. Also, one of the ACC's top assist men at 3.8. But it's not just about Williamson today. You also has a contemporary on the other side, Prentice Hub, who is playing maybe his best basketball during his Notre Dame career. And Hub, over his last 4 games, where 3 of those have been wins for the Fighting Irish, 17.8 points per game, 55% from beyond the arc. So both these guys setting up for a nice showdown today.
Yeah, Prentice, a guy who can really dish it as well as we get underway in South Bend, Indiana. Very good of you to join us. Notre Dame coming in 6-9, 3-6 in the conference, but they've been hot lately. Wake Forest at 5-7, 2-7 in the ACC. Oguama getting in close with a little hook shot, and that's going to drop down. Wake Forest with the early strike getting inside the paint.
And that's a nice move by Oguama, but even better when you consider the competition going up against one of the ACC's best shot blockers in Juwan Durham. And Oguama coming away with the early bucket.
The Fighting Irish love to get it up in the air from the three-point line, where they make 38% of their threes. Going to go downstairs instead, and a quick foul. Nate Leszewski at 6'10", the junior out of Jupiter, Florida. He is the go-to guy, certainly, along with Prentice Hub, Corey. No question about that. 15 points, 8 rebounds a game. And you talk about a big at 6'10", who really plays more like a guard.
He really does, and shoots the ball extremely well. But over his last 4 games, we see he's 3 for 12 from the free throw line. Knocks down his first one, 75% throughout his first 11 games. So Leszewski is a great shooter, as we mentioned, but struggled from the free throw line recently. Good to see him putting points on the board for the Fighting Irish early at the strike.
It's an interesting point, too. You know, he's 66% now at the line. He makes those 2. He looked very good. And he's been a very good foul shooter throughout his career. Can a guy just sort of get the yips and start missing like that in the middle of a season?
It absolutely can happen, especially if you miss 1 or 2 and you start thinking about it and aiming your shots instead of shooting them. Oftentimes you come up short, but Leszewski, I'm sure, has put in a bunch of work recently on the free throws, going 3 for 12 over those last few games, and seems as if he's got that touch right back.
Well, a long one there by Hub. That won't fall, but as Corey mentioned, the three-point shot, that's a big one in his arsenal. The Fighting Irish routed Pitt on Saturday, 84-58. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. Oguama getting that one into the paint again. Trying to back inside, but left it short.
And when you look at what Wake Forest is doing, multiple possessions already going on the interior to Oguama. We talked about their three-point shooting. They're trying to find a way to flatten out the defense. If they can get Oguama going just a little bit to where maybe Notre Dame decides they're going to double team, open up some opportunities for those perimeter shooters.
Demon Deacons playing their first of 3 consecutive games on the road. Going to swing it for Masood.
But denied by Durham, and now Durham with a nice catch and finish. That's one of those, that's a fastball that got up on him quick, Obi. Give Durham a lot of credit because it was tight quarters where Prentice Hub delivered that pass, but the big fella running the floor, give him a lot of credit for having great hands on that possession.
Open shooter Masood will drain that one. He's 40% out there, and certainly one of the better shooters on the court today.
Yeah, and he's had performances, 8 3-pointers for him against Pittsburgh, 8 for 10. So he's very dangerous from beyond that arc, and oftentimes playing the 5 position for Wake Forest, even though he's undersized there. But right now having to go match up on the defensive end against Prentice Hub.
Good one down the lane. Tough drive, but couldn't get that one to go. Williamson leading the transition now for the Demon Deacons, their top scorer at 14 points per game. Steve Forbes now in his first year as the head coach for the Demon Deacons, replacing Danny Manning in April. Danny coaching the Demon Deacons for 6 years. They went 13-18 last season. So Steve Forbes trying to build them more into the East Tennessee State mode because he had so much success there. 130 victories over 5 years before coming to Winston-Salem. Well, Hub got a good look but could not cash in.
And Obi, you know, when you mentioned Steve Forbes, he said something very interesting to us earlier talking to him. He said that identity happens long before culture. And in explaining that, he talked about right now, he's not sure if his team knows exactly who they are. They've gotten closer to who they want to be over their last 3 games, where they've won 2 of their last 3. But yet, they have to establish that identity as to who they want to be before they can say that they have the culture developed in Winston-Salem.
Durham, little fall away. Nice touch there as he kissed that one gently off the rim, and Notre Dame has a 1-point advantage.
And when you speak about identity, the identity of Notre Dame basketball is offensive, 4 out, 1 in. But one of the things that Mike Brey has had to do this season because of Juwan Durham is play really 2 traditional bigs, which is not like Mike Brey, but yet playing to the strength of his personnel, having Durham on the floor as he comes up with another board and already has 2 buckets early for Notre Dame. You want to keep the big fella out there and give him as many opportunities as you can.
Shesky with a nice feed, and Durham continues his good early run on a nifty pass. So you go, 2 guys who can handle the ball well at their size, in particular 6'11", 6'10", leading to that hoop.
Yeah, and a great interior passing once again as we're going to get the 2nd foul on Oguama. Most likely he will not be on the floor when we come back from timeout. Right now, the Fighting Irish at home with a 3-point lead.
ACC Network Basketball is presented by Geico. You could save even more by bundling home and car insurance.
Men everywhere are now cutting their hair at home. Are you? Introduce
Masood at the rim and then catching the pass like the big fella is supposed to do on the break, finishing it off, and then going to the opportunities with passing on the interior with he and Nate Laszewski with the finish off, the 2-hand slam. And we've also seen Durham get it done offensively, but you look at what he does defensively. Right now, 158 blocks, 4th place all time behind some big names. 2 of our guys, Jordan Cornette, LaFonso Ellis, as well as assistant coach Ryan Humphreys. So great company for Juwan Durham within the Fighting Irish program.
Dane Goodwin with a quick strike, and Notre Dame opening up a 10-5 lead. Yes, in all of our games, those 5-on-5s we play on the ACC network, you always get the bigs. You get those big guys that swat the shots away. You guys love to take our hard-earned money. And I'm sure there's an element of that rings of fairness to you, but not to me. Just want to point that out.
Well, I mean, again, if we take our network, I'm going to definitely go with Cornette at the 5. I'm putting Fonz at the 4. We got Luke Hancock who's going to play the 3. I need shooters to be able to space the floor out. But Obi, I'll go with you at the 2. I'll go with you at the 2. Now I've got the ball.
At the 2. Right.
Yeah, I'll go with you at the 2. I'll keep the ball. I'll go with you at the 2.
You've got the ball, and I will never touch it. That's how that works. And you'll win. You win every game. Yeah.
That's what most of my teammates said. That's kind of been.
Just give me one look at the rock. Corey says, no, that's not the way it works. Those are not our rules. Notre Dame with a 3-point lead here early at Purcell Pavilion. And a shot deflected right to the Demon Deacons and to Isaiah Wilkins, a 6'4" junior. Steve Forbes will probably try to get 10 guys on the court here for this ACC matchup.
Yeah, but I believe one of the areas of Wake Forest strength is their depth. And of course, Mike Brey wants to play 7 guys. He likes to have a regular rotation of about 7 guys, give each and every one of those guys a significant amount of minutes. But I believe that where Coach Forbes is right now with their program, he feels like they have to have strength in numbers and try to find a way to wear you down and keeping his guys fresh at the same time. But you look at Mike Brey in his 21st season, the all-time winningest coach at Notre Dame, and one of my favorite guys to talk to about basketball, the thing I love most about Mike Brey never really takes life too seriously. I mean, he takes nothing for granted. He doesn't take things seriously, and he enjoys what he does. And you got to appreciate that, especially in college athletics where oftentimes many coaches take things just a bit too serious.
Joe Go with the lay-in. Yeah, Mike knows how to kick back on the beach down in Florida. And, just have a good time, relax with the sand under his toes and the sun setting. And certainly when it comes to basketball, he's as serious as a heart attack about winning games. I think he made that very clear when he had some disagreements with officials down in Tallahassee last year. The shot clock a factor now here for Wake, and a foul with 1 on the shot clock. A rare Notre Dame foul. That one on Prentice Hub. Notre Dame, of course, commits only 12 fouls a game. It's the fewest in the country again.
And a mistake by a veteran, of course, that's enough to make Mike Bray go have a seat, especially when you consider that your point guard and your team captain makes that foul. And knowing that this is a team that doesn't foul much, but you bail out Wake Forest, as you mentioned, only 1 second on the shot clock. They weren't even going to get a good look at the basket on that possession.
Yeah, that's a killer.
And you see Prentice Hub still, he knows he's upset about that. And, you know, and again, you know, he's getting encouragement from the bench saying, you're okay, you're okay. But Prentice Hub is a very smart basketball player. He knows he made a mistake there, and he is not letting it go.
Well, the alley-oop does not work for Wake Forest. So in transition, here come the Fighting Irish. Cormac Ryan now into the game, who is number 5 for Notre Dame. Another guy who can really shoot it. He'll draw the foul in front of that shot. 11:50 to go here in the first half. Notre Dame up by 5 on Wake Forest.
It's bow time. If you ask us, dinner should be warm, golden, real deal, scratch made, and stick to your ribs with plenty to go around.
I'd heard of Shop and Earn, but I'd never seen it with my own eyes. I was just shopping at Food Lion and saving money like
big plays to how champions start their day.
This is the heart of it all.
This is nothing but net.
We welcome you back to ACC Network Basketball, presented by Geico. Notre Dame 12-7 in the early going here against Wake Forest. Look at their schedule now. The fact that Wake Forest has only played a dozen games. They barely played in the month of December. Since then, however, they've played a ton of games. In fact, in the month of January, 9 times going 2 and 7. So all sorts of problems with the schedule. COVID related, of course. But they haven't played a lot of basketball compared to some schools.
Yeah, and they missed a lot of practice time as well in the month of December. So really, when you think about them getting back in action on New Year's Eve, they were simply starting training camp over, but squeezing a lot of games in, as you mentioned, 11th game now within the last 30 days. And that's a lot of basketball to be played in a short stretch.
Johnson lifts but can't connect. A graduate out of Durham, North Carolina. And Notre Dame trying to add to their 5-point advantage here at home. Dave O'Brien and Corey Alexander from our homes. I don't know about you, Corey. I spent most of the day shoveling snow today here in New England. 12 to 15 inches of fresh powder. I have a feeling that was not the case with you, my friend.
Well, Obi, you know me well enough to know that I would have no idea what it's like outside because I haven't been out there in about 3 days.
Absolutely true. Well, coming up next, our doubleheader rolls on with 11-5 North Carolina taking on 10-5 Clemson. That's at 7 o'clock. This one beginning at a very unusual start time of 5 p.m. The Notre Dame students are now beginning to come back to campus. They expect about 10,000 kids back on campus. You know, Mike Bray's a little bit worried about it because his team has pretty much been in a bubble with the kids away. They've done a great job with COVID. And they've done a wonderful job making sure the kids have stayed healthy. Pull up pop way downtown. That won't drop by Masood. The save back inside. Oh, nice look there for the easy dunk. Okpomo with 2.
That's my guy, Ema, coming up with the dunk. Of course, coached him a year ago at Oak Hill Academy, but one of the mistakes made by Notre Dame, you do not save the ball under the opponent's basket. When you throw it back in, now they're playing 4-on-5. It ends up being an easy basket for Wake Forest. So, again, we've seen 2, you know, I won't call them bonehead mistakes, but 2 mistakes that you don't normally see from a Notre Dame team who is very well coached, especially on their defensive end of the floor.
Wake Forest has already had 10 guys get into this game. Williamson, nice spin. Can't get that one to go, and that's because Durham was putting a lot of pressure on that rim again. Witt with a nifty save there, and that'll turn into a run here for Williamson. And up for two.
I believe that was
so
the
Demon
first
Deacons
turnover.
making a run here, and they've cut to within one.
Yeah, that was the first turnover for Notre Dame, and they haven't scored in the last 3+ minutes. So Mike Bray right now going to the bench, giving a number of guys opportunities, but I think we may see Nate Laszewski, Dane Goodwin get back on the floor here relatively soon if they're not able to make anything happen on the offensive end.
Durham has been the go-to man. Nice hook pass to get him a couple of more. Yeah, he came in averaging 9 points, 5 rebounds. He already has 8 so far, Corey, and I think credit for 3 blocks to this point.
And he's had some big performances this season. You know, had a big game against Virginia, 2 double-figure games against Virginia, and so he's really come along as a scorer more so this season than he has throughout his entire tenure at Notre Dame. And right now, he's been the guy on the offensive end of the floor early in this one.
Ryan with a clean look will stick that. He had a great game on Saturday in the victory against Pitt, 19 points. And he nailed 5 out of 6 from three-point land.
And the first three-point made for Notre Dame, and each of these teams now with 1 3-pointer. We talked early, both coming in, making 13 3-point field goals in their last outing, and both turned into wins for these teams. So they rely on the 3, but right now to this point, neither have had much success from beyond the arc.
Mucius on the drive. Here's Witt to lift and got it right in front of the horn. 3-pointer.
Yeah, he's playing with a lot of confidence. Obi, but was 4 for 4 his last time out in their win over Miami for 11 points, and he had struggled recently shooting the basketball. But of course, you know, you talk about Carter Witt, who came to Wake Forest in the second semester right around Christmas time, and so he didn't have the opportunity to have the preseason conditioning, the training that most of his teammates did. And you know, that's one of the things where Steve Forbes said he missed out on most was the actual weight conditioning and trying to strengthen that body to be able to play in the ACC.
Kick back out to Ryan, and another one from three-point land. Well, he's hitting 35%, but the kind of guy, the Stanford transfer, who can really get rolling.
And Ryan has made 8 of his last 14 3-point field goals coming into this game. Now 2 for 2 for him from beyond the arc. So he's shooting a hot basketball. One of the reasons why he's getting more and more minutes for Coach Mike Bray.
Word saying that one is knocked out of there. Cuomo again getting involved, but we talked about Ryan and his ability to hit that 3-point shot.
Yeah, when 3-pointers are your problem, find Cormac Ryan as he's knocked down 2 of his 3 attempts here to give Notre Dame the lead.
When does a moment in time become a piece of history? When it's struck into a coin, and the brand new 2021 American Eagle Silver Dollar is a piece of history you don't want to miss. This coin's iconic design is changing dramatically later this year. So this release is your last chance to own the original timeless design. Call govmint.com now, and this shiny silver coin will arrive in perfect mint condition. Coin series in the world. This is the final release of the original Eagle design, loved for over 35 years, capturing Reagan's legacy. American
back in Notre Dame, and the Fighting Irish lead 20-14, and Cormac Ryan coming off the bench and firing away, staying hot, because Corey, his last game he was sizzling. 7 out of 8 overall. You see what he did from 3 against Pitt.
Yeah, and Ryan actually has been hot for the last 4 games, Obi. Now, he missed the Virginia Tech game, and Mike Bray talked to us about the fact of how much they miss him and his ability to space the floor. But to this point, if you include today, 10 for 17 on his last 3-point shots made. So you want to find more opportunities for a young man who's shooting a hot basketball like that.
Out of Milton Academy in Massachusetts. He's originally a New Yorker, but the state of Massachusetts has been very, very good to the Notre Dame basketball program over the years. That's going to roll off the iron. Mucius a little bit cold right away. The 6'8" junior can't find the range. Up on the spin, will kick it back out. Laszewski back in the contest now for Mike Bray. Coming up on the 6-minute mark of the first half. Up with the dish. Durham's been the man so far in this game. Pounding it into the lane. Got it up there. He's going to go to the line and shoot 2.
And not only has he been the man, Obi, but Durham has been very aggressive. And I like when he's approaching the game this way. We've seen him play, you know, of course, over his career at Notre Dame. And oftentimes he would just throw that basketball back out, feeling though he had no opportunity to score. And now he's being aggressive, putting his head down, trying to find a way to get to the rim. And if not, he's getting to the free throw line.
Well, here's our Thursday women's basketball doubleheader. Wake Forest facing Syracuse. That game's at 6 Eastern. Then #1 Louisville continuing their run atop the rankings for the first time in school history against BC. Both games right here on the ACC network. 9 points so far for Durham, along with 5 rebounds.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe Louisville went down to NC State last night, Obi. I think the Wolfpack were able to knock off the #1 team in the country.
A nice swing inside. They found Mucius that time. He comes in averaging 11 and 5.
Yeah, you know, I've had to keep up with my ACC women's basketball when you got the top 2 teams in the country. But NC State actually went down to Virginia Tech last week, and then they returned the favor to Louisville. So it's going to be interesting to see who's at #1.
Well, you see how Hub continues to be very unselfish. Ryan with an easy basket. Prentice Hub, who has 21 assists over the last 3 games. So he's been finding his teammates. 23-16 the Irish.
Yeah, he's got 6 assists already in this game alone, and to only, well, I'm sorry, 0 turnovers for Prentice Hub. So he's been doing a great job distributing the basketball. And of course, we all know sharing is caring for Prentice Hub, as he's attacking the paint and helping his teammates get involved in the scoring column.
Ryan, by the way, with 8 points in 8 minutes off the bench for Notre Dame. Trying to force it inside. Masood, no, the follow is up and good. Jalen Johnson, the 6'6" graduate out of Durham, for 2.
Jalen Johnson coming off of a big game versus Miami last time out. He actually went for 16 points. Sorry, 15 points in that game. So he's starting to find his way in what Coach Forbes needs for him to do in his rotation. And you look at it, Coach Forbes, having played 10 guys already, now has a mix of starters and reserves on the floor.
Mucius, yes, got it to go. Count that basket. He'll be at the line as well. Isaiah Mucius, 6'8" junior.
And I love this move by Mucius, who, you know, oftentimes has settled for his jump shot on the perimeter. But now you see when he gets smaller guys on him, he's not going to settle and is going to find a way to use his size advantage over Prentice Hub. And not only for the bucket, but an opportunity for the and one. And he takes advantage of that. And Steve Forbes had a long conversation with Isaiah Mucius when he got to Wake Forest and simply told him, your numbers don't say that you're a three-point shooter. So we need you to be more than that. And Isaiah Mucius bought in. That's one thing he said. He bought in, both feet in, has been a great leader as well as teammate in this Wake Forest program, and one of the guys who's given them the success that they've had thus far under Coach Forbes.
Krzyzewski getting a shot he can certainly make. And Steve Forbes, we were talking to Steve earlier today, and he called Nate really a guard who just happens to be 6'10". He's really one of the best shooters in America. He makes 64% of his shots, 52% from 3, and like everybody else in this game, he makes his free throws. Typically, we mentioned he had a little bit of a slump, but I mean, he's a guy who can shoot it from just about anywhere.
Right, as well as, you know, Ismail Masood is a guy that can shoot it from anywhere, raising up right over top of the defense and knocking down the 3. And, you know, we talked about he's got an 8-pointer three-point field goal made game this year against Pittsburgh. So you have to be aware of where he is around that three-point line whenever he has the ball.
Oh, Wirtz heaving it up there from outside the building to nail that one and make it 28-24.
And Mike Bray is extremely excited to have Wirtz back in the lineup. Missed a couple of games with the ankle injury after he was actually granted eligibility with all transfers earlier in the season. And he says that he allows for Prentice Hub to get off the basketball a bit, and Prentice has benefited from that as well. But right now, Isaiah Masood will benefit from 3 free throws when we return.
3 minutes to go, first half. Notre Dame by 4. We look at the bottom half of the ACC standings now. You see Notre Dame at 3-6, Wake at 2-7. You know, there's a team on that list you figure can make a big time move. It might be the Fighting Irish, Corey, because they've won 3 out of their last 4. They did it last year, and when the season finally came to a stop because of COVID-19, they had won 20 games. They were playing like an NCAA tournament team.
As well, when you look at their schedule, they've already played Virginia twice. They've played North Carolina twice. They've dealt with some heavy hitters. They played Duke. So they've dealt with some heavy hitters already. The schedule is much more favorable for the Fighting Irish moving forward.
Again, Masood shooting 3 times. With 3:01 to go here in the first half at Purcell Pavilion at South Bend, Indiana. And missing that last one. Goodwin outside the 3. Leschewski over the shoulder. The tip up and in. Goodwin with some nice touch.
And give Dane Goodwin credit for pursuing it. Isaiah Mucius went over a little too far. He wasn't actually helping, but took himself out of rebounding position. And Dane Goodwin recognizing that, going in with the easy tip.
Neath tried to do a little too much there in tight quarters, and they wind up turning it over. So back over to the Irish it goes. Notre Dame trying to pick up their 7th win of the season. They do have a top 10 strength of schedule, as Corey detailed. They've played a lot of really good teams and paid the price for that early on, but that schedule will loosen up a little bit as they throw this one away. Boy, there have been almost no turnovers so far in this game.
Yeah, only the 2nd turnover for Notre Dame, but right there, Dane Goodwin having nowhere to go. As you see, 5 total turnovers between both these teams. And again, this is par for the course for Notre Dame, but Wake Forest has struggled handling the basketball this season, so Coach Forms has to be happy about that. When you look at Notre Dame and the ranked opponents that they've played this season alone, you know, very few teams play a ranked opponent. Nevertheless, 7 of them throughout the year. And Coach Bray would love for there to be at least 1 win in that column, but all 7 of those ranked teams have been victorious over the Fighting Irish.
Well, Jacoby Neath sticking a long one there to make this a 1-point game with less than 90 seconds to go in the first half. Durham looking inside, and it never got there. Batted back to him. He tosses it up, and he's fouled again. So Juwan Durham, who was the center of the offense for a big chunk of his first half, goes back to the line here. Game high 9 points for Durham. Irish coming off a rout of Pittsburgh over the weekend in which they hit 13 of 24 threes, but started out this one missing their first 6 from 3-point land. A Friday, we have our first men's lacrosse game of the season and a wrestling doubleheader. Number 1 Duke and number 5 Denver at 3, and then at 6 the Blue Devil Wrestlers take on Virginia. And at number 3 NC State squares off against number 8 Virginia Tech here on the ACC network. We've got it all covered.
We see Notre Dame coming out with a 1-3-1 zone, and when you put Nate Leschewski at the top of that zone, it's tremendous size, but when you're trapping out of a 1-3-1, you've got to have great rotation to be able to get to the shooters, and back-to-back threes now for Wake Forest. You talked about their ability to be able to shoot it from beyond the arc, made 13 threes in their last win over Miami, and now a big one there to tie the game for the Demon Deacons.
Goodwin, good look, yes. He'll bury that shot and put Notre Dame back in front 35-32. And now it's turning into the kind of game, Corey, we anticipated. This could really wind up a pretty good shootout.
Yeah, we were expecting for both these teams to come in and shoot it very well, and both playing with a tremendous amount of confidence on the offensive end. We've seen that over the last few possessions.
Yeah, Wake has made 5 consecutive shots. and finally a miss. So the Irish to get one more shot in the air here before halftime, leading 35-32 in a reach-in foul with 8.6 seconds to go. Trey Wirtz draws the foul. Our officials here for this afternoon evening game, Jeffrey Anderson, Pat Driscoll, and Jeb Hartness. We'll take the break.
Have you heard of nuts.com? It's the best kept secret of savvy snackers all over the country. Incredible nuts, dried fruits, organic snacks, and gluten-free treats. There's something for everyone to love, including free shipping with your first order.
Best pistachios ever.
Love the dried peaches.
White chocolate toffee cashews are awesome.
The holy grail of honey sesame sticks.
The quality has made me a customer for life. With so much to love and free shipping with your first order, check out nuts.com.
Corey, interesting to foul there by Coach Forbes.
Very interesting, simply because, you know, you have a foul to give, so you want to stop the time, but Mike Bray also has the use it or lose it timeout. He takes that timeout to draw up something. If you don't change your defenses, you put Notre Dame in a position to get a good look, which they do. Dane Goodwin just unable to knock it down.
Williamson on the run, got it up there, can't hit the long runner. So we are at halftime here in South Bend. Notre Dame with a 35-32 lead over Wake Forest. Durham with 11 points, 5 rebounds.
Big plays to how champions start their day.
This is the heart of it all.
This is nothing but net.
ACC Network basketball presented by Geico from South Bend, Indiana. This is shaping up as a pretty good one. Notre Dame 35 and Wake Forest 32. Dave O'Brien and Corey Alexander coming to you from our homes on this frosty Tuesday night. Certainly frosty for some of us and quite snowy in many parts of the country. Good luck on your digging your way out. But, you know, Notre Dame getting behind the big guy Durham, and he had a really fine first half.
Yeah, Obi, we thought that we would see a bunch of three-point shooting in this game and the guards taking over, but it's been the big man, Juwan Durham, getting out and running in transition, showing off a nice touch around the rim. Of course, he does it defensively, but what he's done offensively for the Fighting Irish in the first half has been spectacular. Hasn't gone away from what his bread and butter, though, blocking shots and finishing at the rim. 11 points for Durham early in this game. And right now, he has been the catalyst for Notre Dame on both ends of the floor.
Our player spotlight brought to you by Geico. 11 points, 5 rebounds, and the 3 block shots. Came in with 27 block shots to lead the Fighting Irish. And they have the advantage at the break. You know, rebounding, defense, those have been a couple of weaknesses for Notre Dame this season. A big reason they're 6-9 coming in. Same could be said for Wake Forest, but Notre Dame's defense with the big fella in the middle has been pretty stout, and we'll see if the Demon Deacons will dare to go into that paint here in the second half.
Yeah, when you got a shot blocker in there, oftentimes that can deter you, but right now Wake Forest picked it up from beyond the arc. Ended up 5 for 11 from three-point range. I'm sure that's something they're going to try to find out more opportunities here in the second half.
Notre Dame in the home whites with the basketball to begin the second 20 minutes here at Purcell Pavilion. Krzyzewski was pretty quiet in that first half, and that's what Notre Dame could do so well, as Hub will bury that one from deep on the wing.
And one of the things that Mike Bray talked to us about was flattening the defense, and oftentimes they'll throw the ball inside to Durham to flatten the defense. And when you see Notre Dame has action, once he catches the basketball, it's not as though everyone stands around to watch. Everyone is moving, and Prentice Hub is able to knock down the 3 off of that movement out of the pass from Durham.
Trying to get inside, well defended again on the interior by Notre Dame. A scrap for that, shot clock a factor. He got it off, but it won't go by Masood. Another loose ball scooped up by the Irish. And here comes the point guard Hub. He'll drive it and deflect it out of bounds off Wake Forest.
And great offensive action is Prentice Hub, who actually was at the top of the key but got on the move after Juwan Durham was able to catch the basketball off of a post feed from Nate Krzyzewski. So you got to like the moving without the basketball for Notre Dame, which allowed Hub to get a good look from beyond the arc.
Juwan Durham with the touch, pounds that one into the paint. And here's Leschewski off target there. Durham fights and stuffs it back in. And that's just pure effort right there. And slams it down for the biggest lead of the game for the Fighting Irish.
And Obi, it was almost as though Durham was on defense. He actually boxed out Oguama to be able to get that offensive rebound, and then, of course, found a way to put someone on a poster as soon as he got in his hands.
Rebounded away by Durham. Maybe a bit of a danger zone immediately here in the second half for Wake Forest. Goodwin drives it into the lane, trying to reverse course. Draws the foul, and he'll go to the line. And a 7-0 start for the Irish to begin the second half.
And give Dane Goodwin credit for not moving that pivot foot. He got into the painted area, and you see he will keep that right foot down. One pivot, then reverse pivot, find a way to the opposite side of the rim and finish through the contact, and an opportunity for the three-point play.
Which he completes to make it 43-32. And Wake Forest goes to the bench, and Jalen Johnson, who gets him about 7 per game, will enter the fray. This game was tied at 32, and suddenly Notre Dame's up by 11.
And you gotta like, Notre Dame's effort coming out of the halftime. Whatever Mike Brey said to his group, it worked at halftime. And right now, Steve Forbes trying to find some type of energy to start the second half. Going to Jalen Johnson, getting him in the game early here in the second. But Juwan Durham continues to deny everything at the rim. And that time, the basketball actually goes off of Williamson out of bounds, giving it back to the Irish. And Durham coming up with a block shot. As Williamson falls out of bounds, the basketball hits him and giving it back. And Notre Dame now with 6 block shots. Durham, of course, the primary suspect in the block party.
Yeah, he's got 4 of them, and that one all the way down. And way a little bit here, 46-32.
And Dave, we've seen more of the same here in the second half. It's been the Juwan Durham show, boxing out Isaiah Mucius, and then finishing strong. Dane Goodwin getting into the painted area with the fancy footwork and the and one. And then when you look at what they've been able to do from beyond the arc, Notre Dame started out 0 for 6 from beyond the three-point arc, but they've made 6 of their last 10 tries. And part of the reason why now they're on an 11-0 run just to start the second half.
Trey Wirtz with that big triple that forced the timeout by the Demon Deacons, getting it inside from Masood. And again, it's Durham right there to make sure it doesn't go. He's having a great defensive game. We've raved about his offense, but he's been even better maybe on the defensive side.
Yeah, 5 blocks for Durham. He's already in double figures with 13 points. He's got 8 rebounds and 5 blocks. We might have to watch out for a triple-double watch for Juwan Durham in this one, as he continues to dominate this game on both ends of the floor.
Prentice Hub on the other end, making sure Wake really pays for that block. 48-32. He has 7 assists and 5 points. Shot clock inside 10. Witt will give it up. Masood on the drive to spin, and that won't drop. Oguama went for the tip, and a nice save by the Irish. Everything is breaking their way, and Wake has started out the second half 0 for 6. Here's Durham again with another touch. Trying to use that 6'11" size. Couldn't get the shot away. Off the back of the iron this time by Hub, and Wake Forest will try and dig into this 48-32 deficit.
You know, that's the first time we've really seen Durham be indecisive on the offensive end, but he gets a pass thrown immediately, just directly to him on the defensive end.
Wake with some tough interior defense. Williamson on the run out. No.
Give Prentice Hub credit.
Stayed right with him there. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He sprinted right back and did not allow Williamson to have an easy layup. Threw his rhythm off just a bit. And of course, Prentice Hub, just for good measure, comes back and knocks down the 3.
Oh, boy, that's got to hurt if you're the Demon Deacons. Now you're down 51-32 on the road, and you're having trouble making anything. Like there's a lid on that basket. With over the top for Oguama, in close, and one.
One of the
That's a shot
areas
desperately needed.
Absolutely. One of the areas of concern for Mike Brey and his team, they want to get stop scores, not just stops, but they've been able to do that behind the defense of Juwan Durham and the shooting of Prentice Hub.
Nearly 150 years of experience goes.
Corey, the Irish, excellent from three.
Notre Dame started the half on a 16-0 run, and they did most of that damage from beyond the three-point arc. We've seen Prentice Hub knock down not one but 2 threes in the second half. Trey Wertz getting involved in the action. Coming in, they made 13 threes in their last win over Pittsburgh. Could they continue? Could they make that a consistent effort? Come in and shoot the basketball that well, and they've done that here once again. Now 7 threes on the evening.
And leading at 51-34 and the basketball. And the one thing you're noticing about these long shots by the Fighting Irish is, getting in close for an easy 2 here, but the three-point bombs, they're not even touching the rim. They're scorching the nets with these shots. They're true and on target.
Well, those are the shots that you make for our team, right? Being that you're our shooting guard, isn't that the way you shoot it? They don't touch the rim. It's just all net.
It's the one I get. It's the one that the point guard allows me to shoot as the 2 guard.
Well, I will say, as your point guard, you can shoot every time I throw it to you because I only want to assist if I have to give the basketball up.
Jogo getting involved and drops in 2 more, and now Notre Dame is firing on all cylinders. Oguama underneath will lay in 2 as he rolls to the hoop.
Right now, Steve Forrest is trying to find a way to stop the bleeding, going inside to Oguama, who's got a couple of buckets here in the second half. But he's really been the only one to be able to produce offensively for Wake Forest. But there's been no stopping Notre Dame, who's gotten everything they want on the offensive end of the floor. Prentice Hub just missed the easy one there, but got the exact shot that he wanted.
Oguama again, double up inside, but it doesn't matter. He fights right through it for 2.
That's a nice answer from Oguama. We've seen him with 3 field goals now here in the second half. And he's the only one that scored for the Demon Deacons. His 3 field goals have been all their scoring in the second half as Cormac Ryan continues to stay hot from beyond the arc.
Transfer from Stanford. Coming off 19 points against Pitt. And has 13 in this game. So a big lift for Mike Brey. And remember now, Wake Forest is also very capable of climbing back in a game from 3-point distance because that's their money shot as well. Here's a long one by Hub, but no. And Williamson so far has not been a big factor in this thing for the Demon Deacons, and they really needed him to be. He came in their leading scorer, 14 points and 3 assists a game. Oguama again, this time a foul with 11:59 to go. Notre Dame commanding lead 58-38 in the second half.
I'll never forget when it first happened. I'd heard of Shop and Earn, but I'd never seen it with
ACC standings at 3-6, 6-9 overall. But when you start to look ahead at the schedule, Clemson is in the field for the NCAA tournament at the moment, but there's a possibility with the schedule, Corey, Notre Dame could change that and jump over them.
And when you look at what they have coming up at Georgia Tech, at Duke, those are, if they're able to win those games, those are 2 very good opportunities for Notre Dame. And if you get those wins, now you find yourself sitting at 500 in ACC play with a favorable schedule going down the stretch. You mentioned to Coach Bray, Juwan Durham continues to dominate on the block. You mentioned to Coach Bray earlier today, NCAA tournament, and where he talked about, hey, we played a tough schedule. Now, they haven't won those games, but they have, I believe, the 7th toughest strength of schedule in the country this year. The fact that they played that schedule and, you know, they haven't had a COVID pause, they could get to 24 games. I believe that's something that the tournament would have to look at if they get, you know, 10, 11, 12 ACC wins.
Possibility with that schedule because it softens up a little bit for the Fighting Irish. Goodwin nicking the rim on that turnaround, but Notre Dame leading 60-38 at the 11-minute mark here in the second half. Williamson rolling inside, but he's denied. Way down on the three-point miss. Yep.
That goes back to a point that you made earlier today. Williamson got in the paint and he saw Juwan Durham standing in front of him and decided, you know what, it's not worth me shooting this and adding to his stat sheet. And by the way, the stat sheet is wrong. Juwan Durham has 5 block shots. We watched him get number 5. He does not have 4, and the stats have it wrong, and that should not happen when he's at home. They've got to give him that 5th block shot, or maybe they're trying to preserve Jordan Cornett's record. You think that's it?
I think maybe if you think a phone call was made late this afternoon to the official scorer.
I can see Jordan Cornette making the call, saying, hey, guys, anything that's questionable, make sure you don't give it to him. It's got to be a clear block.
Yeah. In fact, even if it is a clear block, because every one of them have been clear as day, Durham comes away with it again. Oh, a nice give there, but no basket. They will wave that off, 60-41. So we'll see if they revisit that. We definitely have him at 5, but let's be honest, Jordan Cornette is a charmer, you know, of the first order. So yeah, he may have worked his magic a little bit.
I will give him that. However, Juwan Durham has 5 block shots, and you know that because you are the notorious DOB. You know all things. Did you think that there was a way I was not going to get that into this broadcast?
Well, I had my hopes. Under 10 minutes to play here in South Bend. Shot clock a factor, down to 1. And that shot off the iron. He was able to get it off in time, but it will not drop. Well, Wake Forest has been very cold. The Notre Dame defense has had a little bit to do it. Look at the rebounding, 37-23 for the Fighting Irish. And a whistle stopping the clock at 9:02 and a foul. Wake Forest just 4 out of 18 shooting the ball, Corey, in the second half.
Well, it's been a struggle for Wake Forest, and it seems as though every time they got a good look, especially around the rim, Juwan Durham was there to block the shot. So it's been a struggle for Wake Forest in the second half. After ending the first half, shooting the basketball very well, making 6 of their last 8 shots in the first half, but then coming out very cold here to start the second.
Ryan lifts, but that won't find the mark. He hasn't missed much in this one. Oguama running right into a defender, but a blocking foul on Ryan. With 8:48 to play here at Purcell Pavilion. ACC Network College basketball on a Tuesday night. Or do you call this an afternoon tip? I mean, 5 o'clock, the sun's going down where I live. But maybe not everywhere is it, you know, already pitch black as it is in New England at 5 o'clock.
But I don't think we can call it night. We probably just have to go Tuesday evening, you know.
Yes.
Because, again, it is more like afternoon. It's definitely light outside when we start, but now you see that the sun is setting on the Golden Dome, and that's a pretty nice set. I mean, you know, I got to give him props for that one. Give our camera guys a lot of credit for coming up with that shot, because
how about that sight, you know, for the students who are returning to campus. About 10,000 of them, as Mike Brace said, coming back to school.
And Coach Bray said that they've been pretty much in a mini bubble since November the 20th. The semester ended before Thanksgiving break. So once everyone's been home, they've been in their own mini bubble for about 2 months right now. So Coach Bray is concerned about activity on campus once the students return, and they will have in-person classes. Beautiful, fine.
On the slam, Jogo makes sure of it. Yeah, this offense has clicked all night or afternoon.
Dime. That was a dime right there. When you look at Notre Dame, the advantage of 28 to 18 points in the paint. And they have shot the basketball very well here in the second half from beyond the arc, but they still have continued to dominate the painted area.
Wood with a mid-range jumper will not fall. And the Irish trying to add on now as they have broken away. Kind of run away and hid here in the second half from the Demon Deacons. Up with a jumper, got a free look, but no.
But Obi, this is what a healthy Notre Dame team is capable of, and you see what they've been able to do in this game. This is what Mike Bray was expecting from this group. They haven't been healthy all year. Trey Wertz wasn't eligible until after about the 4th or 5th game, and then after playing one, he sprains his ankle. They've had to deal with injuries to Cormac Ryan, to Jogo. They've had different guys in and out of the lineup. But now that they're healthy and Mike Bray has his rotation, he feels as though this team is playing their best basketball of the season, and it's showing here this evening.
Yeah, they win tonight, and that's 4 out of 5. And again, a schedule that's going to be a little bit easier, certainly, than the first 10 or 12 games they played. Yeah, things looking up for the Fighting Irish here in the early days of February. Who knows how it'll turn out? Masood won't find the mark. And a 23-point lead, and Wake Forest without a point in over 4 minutes. Yeah, I think one of the more impressive things about this for Notre Dame so far is Laszewski has not been much of a factor in this game, and he has arguably been their best player. He's been one of the better players in the ACC this year. They just keep pouring it on. He's not been a big factor in the game. Jogo with another jumper to make it 67-41. And yet they're blowing out the Demon Deacons now with under 6 minutes to go, and they have their biggest lead of the game.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you know, they've won 3 of their last 4 games, and to be completely honest, Laszewski hasn't been a huge factor in any of those, but they've been getting a more balanced attack. And I believe that's what Mike Bray wants from this team. I mean, again, Nate Laszewski's a great player, but you don't want to have to depend on him to go get 25 and 28 for you to win games, although he does get a nice, easy dunk off of a beautiful find from Prentice Hub, and that'll take us to our break. But right now, Notre Dame firing on all cylinders.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you...
Coming up on Saturday, of course, Mike Bray there with Coach K for a long stretch as a Duke assistant. They were pretty darn good. ACC champs in 91, 92, and 94. And Mike Bray learned so much under Mike Krzyzewski and a glorious Duke program.
That was my first dealings with Coach Bray when he was an assistant coach at Duke. Had a couple letters from him recruiting me when I was in high school, but played against the 92 and 94 champions. And Mike Bray, great assistant, went on, of course, to Delaware, and a strong career there, which got him the opportunity to come and find his home in Notre Dame, where he's been for the last 21 seasons. But if there's anyone who has a game plan prepared to be able to beat the Blue Devils, especially in Durham, it's Coach Bray. That's going to be an interesting time to see when they play Duke after this weekend's North Carolina UNC match and Duke matchup.
There's a goaltend here, 4:47 to go. And 69-44, Notre Dame breaking away here in the second half. Take a look.
Looking at if this is goaltending, and you see the basketball is still above the cylinder as Isaiah Mucius goes and gets it. And I mean, again, it's at the front of the rim, but it's not. I mean, that's kind of interesting because you see it is still over top of the cylinder, but it's actually off of the rim by the time it comes off. He doesn't grab the basketball on the rim. It has ricocheted off, and they gave him 3 for that. Look, my guy Jeffrey. Jeff got the cool run, though. I tell you what, Jeffrey Anderson's run back was cool. They're going to count that bucket, but when you see it in slow motion, it seems as though Mucius took that after it ricocheted off the rim.
Yes. Didn't look like it had any hope whatsoever of coming back the other way, but counted for three. 72-44. Williamson on the nifty drive. Again slams on the brakes and the kick out. Mucius will stick it from three-point land.
A smart play by Williamson on that. As you mentioned earlier, Juwan Durham has controlled the paint on both ends of the floor, but defensively, he has deterred Wake Forest from trying to challenge him at the rim, but that time made the nice pass out to Mucius and knocked down the three.
Juwan Durham really got things rolling for the Fighting Irish in the opening minutes. He's had a standout game and give him another basket and one, as he will go right back to the foul line. He's been able to do whatever he wanted on both ends of the court tonight.
I'm sorry.
Scraping snow and ice from your windshield in winter is such hard work.
By Geico. You could save even more by bundling home and car insurance. Well, Notre Dame rolling tonight here over Wake Forest, 74-47. And Friday night, coming up at 10 Eastern, we have our next Bald Men not on campus. Jay, Fonz, and Seth preview the ACC slate of weekend games and the latest news from around the conference only on the ACC network. Well, our doubleheader continues. Carolina Clemson still to come, 74-47. And Leschewski has not been one of the men in double figures for Notre Dame, so that tells you that a lot of things have been clicking for the Fighting Irish and not revolving around any one guy.
They really have. Leschewski, the leading scorer for Notre Dame, averaging 16 points per game, but they haven't needed his offensive production because of what Juwan Durham and his teammates have done for this group, for Fighting Irish in double figures. And Leschewski, not one of them. They've had a very balanced attack, but when you look at what they've been able to do with the basketball, 17 assists to only 5 turnovers for Notre Dame in this game. And, you know, and Wake Forest hasn't turned the basketball over much. They just haven't been able to make shots, especially in the second half. Carter Witt hears that, knocks down the long distance three, but Notre Dame with a 25-point lead with some great shooting and great sharing the basketball, what they've done here, shooting 51% from the floor for this game.
Durham 18-9. Say this for Leschewski, though, he's hit the glass. He has 10 rebounds in this game. So the really, really good players, they find other ways to help you, don't they? Coming up next, our doubleheader rolls on. 11-5 North Carolina taking on 10-5 Clemson. That'll be at 7 o'clock after our award-winning post-game show anchored by Corey Alexander, which is just around the corner.
Thank you for signing me up for that. We're gonna have some fun.
I got a little more snow I've got to shovel here in New England. So if you can just take us to the top of the hour, that'll be great, Corey. I know you can do it.
If that's the case, then I would gladly be there to help you shovel snow.
Yeah, maybe we can chat with Juwan Durham and maybe several of his teammates. This game has flown by, I got to tell you.
It has. I would love to talk to Mike Bray about, should college coaches go back to wearing suits? You know, and that's something that you and I are both interested in, and we should have asked him that earlier today. But maybe in our post-game coverage, being that we're going to have a little time to talk Notre Dame basketball, maybe we should ask him about that.
You know, it's one of the things, you know, about the COVID-19 period of college sports, and a nice move inside by Oguama. One thing that it's affected is, you know, the relaxing of the so-called dress codes for coaches. Not that there's a rule about that, but a lot of guys for many, many years, of course, not everybody, but a lot of guys have been wearing suits. And well, will Steve Forbes go back to wearing one, or will Mike Bray even buy a tie? You know, in his case.
I can tell you, no, that's not happening.
Mike's not going there.
No,
but for some guys, you know,
not going there.
probably won't happen with him. But what about, Jay Wright at Villanova, who is, it always looks like not $1 million, like $5 million. And he has to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of suits and shoes and ties and cufflinks, in that closet. What do you do with all that stuff?
Jay Wright's going to wear a suit. I mean, again, regardless as to whether they relax it or not, Jay Wright will be back in a suit. The thing for him this year has been that he hasn't wanted to leave his assistant coaches out. But Jay Wright will be back in a suit. Mike Bray will be all about no more suits. Let's coach the game the way we are. Mike Bray wore shorts in January in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Okay. That man does not want any part of a suit, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. I don't think coaches should be asked nor required to wear suits while coaching basketball.
Oguamo with 2. I think you're right. I think that's something that when it's all over, and it is going to end, we're all going to get vaccinated. We're going to get back to living our lives again. And that means, guys can dress the way they want to on the sidelines. I guess you could now anyway, but what's the point? There's nobody in the stands to see you. But I would think you're probably right about certain guys. They're going to forget about the old dress code, and they like this relaxed look and feel, and are going to continue it.
Well, if we go back to many of the legendary coaches in college basketball, you think Bob Knight. Never saw Bob Knight in a suit.
No.
Then you think about Louis Carnesecca. Louis Carnesecca wore the sweater. Bob Huggins, who right now I believe is 4th or 5th all-time in wins. Never seen Bob Huggins in the suit. Again, he doesn't wear this. I mean, I'm sure he may have done it back in the day, but now he does not wear the suit. And Notre Dame's all-time winningest coach, he'll put on the suit, but he's not wearing the tie. Oftentimes he'll go with the mock neck or whatever it may be. But, when you wear shorts in January in Chapel Hill, not to say that Chapel Hill is freezing, but it's not shorts weather. You are a very casual, laid-back person, and you do not want any parts of a suit.
In fact, we are going to have Coach Bray in our post-game spectaculars, so we'll cover a whole bunch of topics because Mike is a fascinating guy, and he's into a lot of different things. I think it's going to be really interesting to chat to, even the off-basketball stuff, but he's got to be delighted with the way his team has played here tonight with 1:11 to go. This is a nice way to welcome the students back to the campus at South Bend with an impressive win here in this one. And coming up, ACC women's hoops on Thursday. Wake Forest against SU. And then at 8 p.m. the #1 team in the country, Louisville, against Boston College here on the ACC network. Another scrap for the loose ball. Look at those second half field goals. Notre Dame 16 for 29. Absolutely sizzling. At Wake Forest, well, for a while there they couldn't buy one, and shooting only 29% since the break.
And Obi, one of the areas that we see with Notre Dame, they don't foul, and so because they foul so few times in a game, only 10 fouls total in this game, their games go so much faster. Where a normal college basketball game would take 2 hours, we will most likely be done with this game, in an hour and 41 minutes. So when you think about that, and Notre Dame has led the country for the last 6 years in least fouls per game. And so that's just a staple of this program, playing defense without fouling, and they did a tremendous job of that tonight.
Well, for emphasis, and a slam by Zona coming off the bench. Matt Zona, the 6'9" freshman. Look at those bench points. Well, everything, virtually every statistic in this game is soundly in Notre Dame's corner.
But the bench points got started by Cormac Ryan coming in, knocking down threes. And remember, Notre Dame didn't shoot the ball well to start this game. They were 0 for their first 6 threes until Ryan knocked down that one. And then after that, they made 6 of their next 10 3-point field goals.
Up with the lay-in right in front of the horn, and that does it. Notre Dame running away early in the second half and they win this one in blowout fashion, 79-58. Durham with 18 points and 9 rebounds. Ryan came in and dropped in 13. Hub had a double-double, 10 points and 10 assists.